Okay, here's a rewrite of the text to make it sound more human. Things seemed chill with the Browns, but anyone who watches them knows that calm is usually just before chaos hits. Underneath the surface, there's always some tension. Well, in season 20, episodes 19 to 22, things blew up, starting with Janelle. Right away, you could tell something was off. The house, usually lively, felt uneasy. People weren't saying much. They kept exchanging glances that said a lot. Even the kids seemed to know something was up. Janelle had been paying attention. Even if others missed it, she saw that Cody was acting weird. At first, it was small stuff, but Janelle noticed. He'd disappear, seem distracted, and make choices that didn't fit with how they usually did things. Robyn, usually a big part of things, was different too. She wasn't fighting, but she seemed distant, like she was backing away. She looked calm, but Janelle felt like something was up. It wasn't peace, more like she was hiding something or trying not to get called out. Then there was Meri. She's quiet, and people often forget about her when things get heated. But she was carrying a load. Lately, it was harder to miss. She'd sigh, pull away, and look frustrated before anyone noticed. Janelle saw it all. For weeks, they'd all been walking on eggshells, holding back. Janelle knew things couldn't stay like that. Something had to give, and it had to start with honesty. She worried that if they didn't deal with the secrets, things would get way worse. First, she watched. She didn't jump in without thinking. She looked at how they acted, their body language, and the little things that hinted at bigger problems. Cody, for example, was on the phone a lot, having private talks. It wasn't super obvious, but it was weird, since they usually shared everything. Plus, he seemed unsure when family plans came up, dodging questions. Robyn was trickier to read because it wasn't about what she did, but how she felt. She smiled and nodded when she had to, but she just wasn't as warm as usual. Janelle thought she was putting up a wall. Meri seemed to be dealing with something big inside. She barely said anything in conversations. Then she'd sigh or change the subject. She didn't laugh like she used to, which usually helped calm things down. Janelle felt like Meri was keeping things in, maybe mad, maybe scared, or both. Janelle started putting the pieces together, and she figured out that Cody, Robyn, and Meri were all keeping secrets that could mess up the family if they didn't come out. But timing was everything. She needed to pick the right moment to say something, to not just expose their secrets, but make them all deal with each other. Things got tense one night at dinner. It seemed normal, quiet, kids playing, a little laughter. But Janelle saw Cody checking his phone, Robyn pulling away, and Meri getting stiff whenever certain topics came up. It was a disaster waiting to happen. Janelle started thinking about how to bring things up without causing a total breakdown, but still in a way that they couldn't ignore. She knew if she was too nice, they'd brush it off. If she was too harsh, it would be chaos. She needed to find a way to force them to be honest, but also let them talk. She started writing things down, little notes, reminders of talks, things she saw. She put all the pieces together so she could show them what was really going on. Janelle wasn't trying to blame anyone, just make things clear. She wanted them to see what their actions, or lack of action, were doing. The house got so tense, you could feel it. The air felt heavy. Even the pets seemed stressed. Conversations were awkward, and no one looked at each other. The Browns were used to attention, but this was a personal mess that the cameras couldn't really show. Except Janelle was seeing everything. Finally, Janelle decided it was time. She called a meeting, kept it casual at first, but everyone knew something was up. She practiced what she wanted to say and the questions she wanted to ask. There was no going back. What made this so big was that everyone knew deep down things needed to change. Cody, Robyn, and Meri all had a piece of the puzzle, but none of them knew the whole story. Janelle, though, had seen it all, the little signs, what they were hiding, and how they really felt. It was all set for a moment that would change the Brown family story. In that quiet living room, with cameras rolling, Janelle was ready to tell what she knew. It would probably shock them, maybe even scare them, but mostly it was going to expose the truth. In families like the Browns, secrets affect everyone. When the truth comes out, everything changes. Janelle knew that, and she was ready. As she started to talk, you could feel the anticipation. No one knew what she would say or how they'd react. But for sure, it was the start of finding out Cody, Robyn, and Meri's secrets, and nothing would be the same. That set the scene for all the fighting that came in the next episodes, making them some of the most memorable moments for the Browns. The moment was here. After keeping an eye on things for weeks, planning carefully and piecing together stuff that others missed, Janelle decided it was go time. And when she acted, the Brown family and everyone watching would feel her boldness. The day started like normal, but the house felt different. The kids were quiet, sensing something serious. Cody, Robyn, and Meri were all thinking their own things, not knowing Janelle had already planned out what she was going to say. Janelle didn't do this without thinking. She had practiced what she wanted to say, the questions she would ask, and the order she'd say things. This wasn't just a random thing. It was planned, and she knew timing was important for this to work. When she got everyone in the living room, it was quiet. Cody, who's usually sure of himself, sensed something in her tone. Robyn, always calm, felt the mood change. And Meri, normally quiet, caught on right away. Everyone could feel something was up. Then Janelle spoke. Her words were clear and firm. "We need to talk. No more hiding. Stuff's been going on, decisions have been made, and secrets are being kept. It's time we face the truth together." The room went quiet. Cody moved in his seat. Robyn's eyes got a bit smaller, and Meri's hands shook a little. The family knew Janelle could be assertive, but this was something else. This was Janelle demanding answers and not letting things go. What made this even more shocking was how specific Janelle was. She didn't just attack, she had proof. She talked about what she had seen the past few weeks, small things that showed truths no one else had put together. For Cody, she started with his recent decisions, things he did without asking anyone. Things that seemed small at first, like spending money, private meetings, or changes to the schedule, were part of something bigger. Janelle calmly explained how these things affected everyone else. Cody was surprised and defended himself, but his reasons didn't work under Janelle's questions. Every time he tried to explain, it just made him look worse. Everyone could feel the tension building. Next, Janelle talked to Robyn. Cody's secrets were about what he did, but Robyn's were about how she felt. Janelle saw how Robyn had been avoiding family talks, keeping her distance, and not talking about hard stuff. Janelle gently asked Robyn to explain why. Robyn tried to stay calm. She smiled and gave short answers at first. But Janelle's questions got to her. It was obvious that Robyn's quietness was because she was holding things back and trying to avoid a fight. And then there was Meri. Janelle saw that she was frustrated and holding in her emotions. Meri often let things go to keep the peace. But Janelle's talk made it impossible to keep hiding. With the right words, she told Meri to speak up and share what had been bothering her. The room had changed. Janelle's presence made it so no one could avoid being honest. She wasn't yelling. Her strength came from being clear and brave. Every secret started to come out, one by one. Cody broke first. As Janelle talked about his decisions, he knew he couldn't hide anymore. He couldn't find the words. His confidence gone as he heard the truth. The family was watching, seeing a side of Cody they hadn't seen. Robyn tried to stay calm, but Janelle's fair questions made her admit she had been avoiding things. She started to say her worries. For the first time, she wasn't hiding, which was scary, but also needed. Meri, who was often quiet, finally spoke. Janelle's support let Meri say what she had been keeping inside for months. The room was full of emotion as Meri shared her feelings. Janelle was good at this. She wasn't just talking about single things. She was showing how everything was connected. What seemed small became important when seen as part of the family. It was Janelle's skill in putting these things together that made her talk so shocking. By the end, the family was stunned. They knew there were problems, but they didn't know what. Cody, Robyn, and Meri had to face the truth. What made this interesting to watchers was the realness of the emotions. Janelle's talk made everyone feel fear, relief, shock, and understanding. A mix that kept everyone interested. It was something that made you think. The main thing from this was Janelle's bravery. She stepped into a tough situation and used honesty to force people to be real. She showed hidden things not to hurt people, but to create a chance for understanding. By the end, the Brown family had faced the truth. Their secrets were out, and things had changed. Janelle's talk had not only shown actions and feelings, it had also created a way for the family to get better if they could handle the fallout. And for watchers, it was clear. This wasn't just another fight. This was the power of telling the truth at the right time. Janelle's actions set the stage for what would happen next. When Janelle finished, you could cut the tension with a knife. Everyone was staring at Cody. Up till now, it was like, something's up with him, but nothing concrete. Janelle, though, she'd been paying close attention and laid it all out. Cody had nowhere to hide. Cody's always been a difficult guy to figure out in the Brown family. Seemingly sure of himself, he usually played the decision maker, the person who tried to smooth things over. But that kind of confidence can hide stuff, right? And that's what was going on. Janelle, sharp as always, had picked up on little things he did, tiny stuff that showed he was keeping secrets. It started with his stories not quite adding up. People noticed he'd dodge questions or quickly change the subject when things got a little too real. You might not think much of it on its own, but it started to look like he was making choices on his own, without talking to everyone else. But Janelle takes notes. She'd been watching for weeks, seeing when he made decisions solo, noting the late-night chats, the plans nobody else knew about. What she found? It was shocking. Not just what he was doing, but how it was affecting the whole family. Like money stuff. Cody had made deals without really telling anyone all the details. He might have thought he was doing what was best, but it made everyone tense and distrustful. The Browns have always tried to be open about stuff like that, so it was a pretty big deal. And then there were the personal things. Cody had been having talks and getting into situations that, even if they were private, had an impact on the family. Some things were personal, sure, but they still messed with everyone else's lives and what they were responsible for. Janelle spelled this all out, pointing out how even small things could cause problems for the whole family. The room was dead silent while Janelle talked. She backed up everything with facts and timelines, and Cody couldn't really deny anything. He tried to explain, but Janelle was ready for him. Her questions were spot on. Her proof was solid. She wasn't attacking him. She just laid out the truth, letting the facts speak for themselves. The worst part was probably how much Cody had done on his own when he really should have talked to the family. People watching at home might have thought he had it all together. But it turned out that keeping things quiet can cause problems, misunderstandings, and even anger. As Janelle went through everything, Cody started to crack. He wasn't so calm and collected anymore. He got defensive, but also seemed genuinely worried. He realized Janelle had seen things he thought he'd hidden. Every detail she brought up made things even more tense in the room. But it wasn't just about listing his screw-ups. Janelle wanted him to get how his actions affected everyone around him. It wasn't just about the secrets. It was about being responsible, about trust, and about how one person's choices can affect the whole family. Cody had been on his own, thinking he was helping, but he was actually making things confusing and uneasy. Janelle made Cody think, maybe for the first time in a while. He had to think about how his private stuff had made things tense at home. And when he did, you could see he was human. He wasn't so sure of himself anymore. He was just a guy dealing with the results of his decisions, realizing that once you break trust, it's hard to fix. Everyone else's reactions added to it all. Robyn, who'd been quiet, seemed to get it all of a sudden. She understood why things had felt weird, why she couldn't keep the peace. Meri, still dealing with her own stuff, saw how Cody's actions had had a domino effect. Not just with practical things, but with everyone's emotions. Cody's secrets also showed how complicated things were. It wasn't just about who was right or wrong. It was about talking to each other, understanding each other, and sharing responsibility. In big families, especially ones that are always in the spotlight like the Browns, small secrets can cause big problems. Janelle got that across, turning what could have been a private fight into a lesson about being open and responsible. As they talked, Cody started admitting he'd screwed up in spots. It wasn't easy. He's got his pride, he's used to doing things his way, and he likes being in control. All that made it hard to admit he was wrong. But Janelle wouldn't let up, and she had the proof to back her up. Slowly, he started to take responsibility, offering explanations that showed he wasn't just trying to justify himself, but that he actually understood how he'd affected his family. For people watching, it was one of the most intense moments all season. Cody's secrets weren't just little things. They changed the whole story of the Brown family. Every choice, every hidden thing was like a piece of a puzzle that explained why things had been so tense and why there had been so many fights for so long. And Janelle kept at it, firm, fair, and focused on the truth, not on stirring up drama. She made it so Cody could be honest, face what he'd done, and start taking responsibility. The moment was intense, no doubt, but it was also a turning point. Honesty replaced secrets, and things became more clear. When it was all over, Cody's secrets were out in the open. The family understood what he'd been doing, and Cody himself had to face what he'd done. The tension was thick, but it was also a relief. A release of all those secrets that had been building up for so long. After that session, Robyn and Meri had more to say too. Cody's exposure created a chain reaction, encouraging everyone else to think about their own actions and secrets. Janelle had not just exposed Cody's decisions. She had created a situation where being honest was necessary, a place where the whole family could start dealing with their messy relationships with a clearer head. Basically, Session 3 wasn't just about Cody. It was about how important it is to be open, how important it is to be responsible, and how even private actions can cause ripples. It showed that even in a family, that's as famous and scrutinized as the Browns. Secrets are deeply personal. And Janelle's actions were the thing that made it all happen, turning hidden behaviors into revelations that would change the family for good. For viewers, the message was loud and clear. Secrets, no matter how small or well-intended, have results. And when the truth comes out, it changes everything. Cody's exposure wasn't just a shock, it was a key moment in the season. The kind that made you sit on the edge of your seat, waiting to see what would happen next. When Janelle finished talking to Cody, you could cut the tension with a knife at the Brown house. Everyone felt it. Shock, worry, and tons of unspoken questions. Cody's secrets were out, but Janelle knew they weren't done yet. Robyn and Meri were next, and their problems weren't as obvious as Cody's. Their stuff was more about feelings, and in some ways, even harder stuff. Robyn always seemed so calm and together, but she was dealing with her own stuff. She always acted like she had it all figured out, with polite smiles and careful words, but Janelle noticed little things, like Robyn hesitating when certain things came up, or pulling away from everyone. Janelle knew that Robyn's calm act was just a way to protect herself. She wasn't trying to fool anyone, but she was trying to cope. She kept her feelings to herself and tried to balance what she needed with what the family wanted. But her problems still mattered. They changed how she acted and how she connected with everyone. Janelle started slow, not with yelling or big accusations. She asked thoughtful questions to get Robyn thinking about how she felt and why she did what she did. "Robyn, you've seemed distant recently. Can you explain why?" It was a simple question, but it meant a lot. At first, Robyn was careful, giving an answer that wouldn't cause too much trouble. But Janelle kept at it, gently pointing out times when Robyn's pulling away had upset the family. She brought up how Robyn avoided talking about things, how her voice changed, and how she stayed away at family events. Janelle had to be careful not to make Robyn feel attacked. As they talked, Robyn started to open up. She admitted she felt snowed under sometimes, dealing with feelings she never told anyone. She said she had doubts, worries, and insecurities that she'd hidden for a long time. Robyn said her calmness wasn't because she didn't care, but a way to handle her emotions and keep the family going. For the first time, everyone could see how much Robyn had been dealing with on her own. The mood changed as Robyn spoke, and it was easy to see how vulnerable she felt. Cody, already upset from his own stuff, listened closely. He realized Robyn wasn't being distant because she didn't care, but because she was quietly trying to get by. Meri, watching from across the room, nodded slightly, maybe seeing herself in Robyn's honesty. And Janelle, still trying to keep things fair, made it safe for everyone to share their feelings. But they weren't done until they talked to Meri. She was usually quiet and had been keeping her feelings bottled up for years. Underneath her calm act was a lot of frustration, disappointment, and a wish to be heard. She learned to stay quiet during fights and just take in the tension. But Janelle asking questions meant Meri couldn't be quiet anymore. Janelle was firm but kind when she turned to Meri. "Meri, you've been holding stuff in. It's time to speak up. We need to hear what you have to say." Those words felt heavy. For Meri, it wasn't going to be easy. Speaking up meant facing her feelings and talking about what Cody, Robyn, and the others had done. But with Janelle's support and the family listening, she found the courage to start. Meri's voice started soft but got stronger as she shared her feelings. She talked about feeling ignored, like no one heard her, or she was just taken for granted. She talked about how it felt when decisions were made without her, how she had to deal with her feelings alone, and how the tension quietly changed how she acted around Cody, Robyn, and the rest of the family. As Meri spoke, you could feel the change in the room. The family began to understand how keeping emotions hidden could spread throughout the whole group. Cody's choices, Robyn's way of coping, and Meri's hidden feelings were all connected. Every choice and every secret changed things for everyone else, even in small ways. Janelle asking questions had shown a whole bunch of connected problems that no one had noticed before. People watching at home could feel how important the moment was. It wasn't just a TV show, but a real look at feelings, responsibilities, and how hard it is to be in a big family. Every new thing they said made the story deeper, showing that there was always more to the story than just what you saw. Things got even more intense as Robyn and Meri shared. The family started thinking about what they'd kept hidden and how those secrets had changed how they talked to each other, fought, and understood each other. It was clear that their problems weren't just theirs. They were part of the family and changed how they reacted to everything. Janelle didn't tell anyone what to say or force them to talk. She guided the conversation, asked good questions, pointed out patterns, and made it okay for them to be honest. Because of her, Robyn and Meri could talk freely, deal with feelings they'd hidden, and share things that the rest of the family didn't know. The talk also showed how strong the family was. Even with big surprises and strong feelings, they still wanted to understand, support, and fix things. Cody listened closely. Robyn showed how she felt, and Meri spoke bravely. Being honest made a big turning point for the family, one that might change how they acted with each other later on. By the end, you could see the impact that the talk had made. Robyn had said she was dealing with things and shared emotions. Meri had said what she was worried about, and the whole family had learned that their feelings and actions were connected. What started as a fight had turned into a chance to think, understand, and maybe even make up. For people watching, it was a big reminder about how hard it is to be in relationships. Secrets and hidden feelings always come out, no matter how hard you try. When they do, they can change everything, make things hard, but also give you a chance to grow and connect more deeply. Janelle's bold way of doing things had not only exposed these secrets, but had also shown a way to fix things. By the end of this talk, the Brown family was facing a new reality. They had faced feelings that they'd been keeping inside for months, if not years. The new things they learned weren't easy to take in, but they were needed. Janelle's way of getting people to be honest had made the family understand each other better than ever before. This talk set up the last fight and what happened after, where the family would start to deal with the results of these big reveals. It was a turning point, a deeply moving and unforgettable part of season 20 that would have people talking about it for weeks. Basically, Robyn and Meri's hidden problems were more than just personal stuff. They were key pieces of the family puzzle. By showing them, Janelle had not only revealed the truth, but had also made a safe place for healing, thinking, and hopefully making stronger family ties. Here's a rewrite of the text to sound more human and less AI-generated. The storm had calmed down, but you could still cut the tension with a knife in the Brown household. Janelle's smackdown, where she laid bare Cody's decisions. Robyn's way of dealing with stuff, and Meri's pent-up feelings, left everyone reeling. The silence in the room was thick enough to spread on toast, like everyone was waiting for someone else to speak first after the emotional explosion. The thing is, cleaning up after a mess like that is never easy. For the Browns, who've been living under a microscope for ages, this wasn't just another fight. It was a real game changer. Everyone had to face up to some hard truths about themselves and each other. Now, the big question was whether they could work through it all, or if things would blow up for good. Cody, still stunned that all his secrets were out there, sat quietly, thinking. He now got that his choices, even the ones he thought were good ideas, had messed things up. Things he thought were small stuff, or ways to keep the family together, had just caused confusion, mistrust, and bad feelings. He saw that keeping things hidden, even when you mean well, can break down trust in a family. For Cody, owning up to his part was the first thing he needed to do. He looked at Janelle, who'd put him on the spot, and admitted that he understood what his actions had caused. He sounded sorry and determined at the same time. It was a huge thing, not just for him, but for the whole family. Admitting you messed up is often how you start to heal. Robyn was struggling too. Talking about her emotional battles had left her feeling exposed, but also weirdly relieved. For the first time ever, the family saw that she wasn't weak for feeling things. She was just honest. Getting it all off her chest had felt really good. She saw that sharing her feelings didn't make her weaker. It showed she was brave. Meri was just as emotional. After years of holding back, she finally let loose. It was scary to speak out, but it was also a relief. For Meri, this wasn't just about complaining. It was about taking back her voice and standing up for herself in the family. You could practically feel the relief coming off her, even with all the tension still in the air. As everyone dealt with their own stuff, the mood in the room started to change. At first, everyone was defensive, unsure, and even guilty. But little by little, they started to understand each other a bit more. Janelle's bold move had made that happen. By making everyone be honest, she let the family deal with tough stuff in a way that wasn't just about fighting. They also had to think about things. The family had to look at not just what people did, but why things kept going wrong. Cody's secrets, Robyn shutting down, and Meri holding everything in were all connected. Seeing those caused them to get how their behavior affected everyone. For viewers at home, it showed them how families work. Small things can have big results, messing up the whole mood. Talking to each other was one of the biggest things. After the showdown, the family talked openly, asking questions, clearing up misunderstandings, and saying how they felt. It wasn't easy, it never is when things are so intense, but it was important. Or the Browns, who are always in the public eye. Some real honesty and talking about their feelings was a big thing. Cody, for one, explained not just what he did, but why he did it. He shared his reasons, his fears, and his hopes, giving the family some background they hadn't had before. Robyn was understanding, knowing that Cody had been stressed and that it was hard to handle everything. Meri said she was glad to finally be heard, but that they needed to keep being open with each other. Janelle kept things moving. She didn't take over or tell everyone what to do. Instead, she helped them talk to each other, making sure everyone took responsibility, was kind, and understood each other. She made sure the revelations weren't just dramatic moments. They pushed everyone to grow, think about themselves, and connect better. The whole thing was a lot. The Brown family felt all kinds of things: relief at finally dealing with problems, frustration at old misunderstandings, guilt over hurting each other, and hope that they could communicate better. It was a roller coaster that made for good TV, since everyone can relate to dealing with tough truths. For viewers, the big lesson was that being honest is huge. Cody's secrets showed how dangerous it is to act alone. Robyn shutting down showed what it costs to hide your feelings. Meri's silence showed how bad it is to store bad feelings. Together, they showed how honesty is important for keeping trust and peace in any family. In the days after, the Browns started to deal with the results. Relationships that had been strained slowly improved as everyone tried to be more open. Cody tried to be more open about his choices. Robyn shared her feelings more, instead of hiding them. Meri kept saying what she thought and what she wanted. The family wasn't perfect, but they'd started to rebuild trust. Importantly, it also got viewers thinking. People could see the challenges of balancing their own problems with family responsibilities, the struggle between secrecy and honesty, and the difficulty of dealing with old emotional baggage. The Browns' experiences were dramatic, sure, but they also touched on things we all deal with when it comes to relationships. The cameras caught every glance, sigh, and expression, showing not just the drama, but the real emotions. For fans, it was more than just TV. It was a peek into how hard it is to keep a family together when things get tough. Janelle's brave move had kicked off that honesty, turning private tensions into a shared experience. By the end of this part, the family had reached a turning point, but not one that guaranteed success. Lingering emotions remained, and the journey toward full understanding would take time. What was shocking had given way to clarity. The family had faced their secrets, confronted hidden struggles, and begun to rebuild the trust that had been tested. Janelle's actions, initially shocking and maybe controversial, had given everyone a way forward, a way toward honesty, empathy, and bonds much stronger than before. For viewers, the message was clear. Facing tough truths, no matter how uncomfortable, is important for improvement and understanding. Secrets and stifled emotions can worsen the tensions and create lasting issues. The Browns had been tested, and while the road ahead was still uncertain, they had taken the important first steps toward making things better. Basically, the aftermath of Janelle's showdown was a mix of emotions, thought, and hope. Cody took responsibility for his actions. Robyn shared her emotional struggles, and Meri spoke her mind. The family learned that honesty, even when it hurts, is essential for trust and unity. And for viewers, this session wasn't just for fun, but an inside look at families. The power of speaking out and truth has a powerful effect on you. The Brown family, changed by these revelations, now had to face the next part of their lives with this new understanding. But one thing was obvious. Janelle's bold move had changed the family, making them face reality, be honest, and maybe find their bonds were even stronger than ever.